Isabella, and I'm here with Mike Davis for the speaker series. Hello.
How you doing? Good morning.
Good morning. Why did you decide to work at Synergy? What led you to that path?
Well, working at Synergy came from basically my interest in students. Working in the Department of Correction for over 20 plus years, 25 plus years, I saw people come in at various ages. I saw them come in from their teen ages to their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, and some of them even into their 50s. So I believe a way to help correct some of the problems is to target that audience before they're led down that wrong path. So I chose to come to Synergy to, try to make a difference, basically.
Were you required to go to college for the training of being a corrections officer?
No, I was not. You can actually become a correction officer just with a high school diploma. It's an easy career to get into.
Okay. How can you apply what you learned being a warden to help kids succeed at Synergy?
A lot of what you apply basically comes from rules that are in place. I found the best way to do things is to follow the rules that are already set, the guidelines that are already set. They keep you on track. Enforcing rules around the school helps to keep the kids on track, keep them in the classroom, try to keep them attentive in the classroom so they're learning and retaining some of the information that they're given. So in the Department of Correction, the rules and regulations are the most important part of the job, because you have to make sure that the inmates follow the rules and regulations to the letter, just like you want to make sure that your staff members are following the rules and the regulations to the letter. Like I said, if you're following the rules and regulations, most of the time you can't go wrong. So why not make it easy on yourself?
I agree. What led you to wanting to become a correction officer in the first place?
Well, I'm a second generation correction officer. My mom was the first person in our family that joined the Department of Correction. And she worked while I was in high school, she got into the Department of Correction. I was probably 15 years old when she got the job. And she brought a lot of the work home with her as far as some of the customs of the Department of Correction. And she basically implemented it on her children, like, timeliness, cleanliness, being organized, making sure that I didn't have anything that I wasn't supposed to have as far as weapons, paraphernalia, being involved with drugs. It was times that I would go to school and I would come home and she would have shaken my room down, my personal room. I come home and she would maybe have, like your drawers need to be neater, your bed needs to be made up in the morning. What is this I found in your drawer? What are you doing with this? Stuff that I wasn't supposed to have at that point in time. So she showed me early in life that, anything you want, you got to work hard for it, because I saw her going to work early in the morning and sometime not coming home until late at night because she had been ordered to work an extra shift. So if you got ordered to work an extra shift, you're working 8 hours plus another 8 hours. So, and just what it provided for the family, she showed me that that was a way that you can work hard and you can provide for your family. And, everything is not always happy and peachy keen, but it's a lot happier when you're working hard than it is when you're trying to cut corners and do stuff by illicit means or illegal means. So it taught me a lesson to try to be right, try to be a good person. You get more out of life if you try to be right and be a good person than you do if you're always going against the grain, being negative, trying to be a criminal, trying to get over, when you don't have to.
Yeah, I get that. What were some of the advantages of working at the Department of Corrections?
Some of the advantages was the growth within the Department of Correction. You didn't have to stay in one position. I went from being an officer to a lieutenant, which is a supervisor, to a captain, which supervises the supervisors, okay, to a deputy warden, which oversees the supervisors, the facility, the civilians, the overall facility, basically, and the grounds. So there's a lot of room for growth, a lot of room to educate yourself throughout the 20-year career, so to speak. So it never got old, so to speak. It was, I was part of the Correctional Emergency Response Team, which is the CERT team who responds to all type of facility emergencies. I became an instructor as far as chemical agents, chemical weapons were concerned, so I would have to certify other staff members in chemical agents, learning everything about chemical agents, including the portion where you actually got sprayed, which they called it desensitizing, because you need to know what type of pain you're inflicting on someone else when you use this chemical agent, so you will know when it's time to stop, when a person has had enough. Basically the overall respect that you got when you move from level to level to level, because it showed that you were more about the department than you were about yourself, because it's all about trying to make a difference some way or another, even within the staff structure, the inmate structure, the overall facility development. So it gave you a sense of accomplishment.
What were some of the disadvantages of working there?
Some of the disadvantages is seeing close friends that may have took the other road, got in trouble, gotten arrested. So, you know, a few years ago we were hanging out side by side, we were friends. Now I'm the person in charge of locking you up for the night, making sure you get everything that is afforded to you as far as personal items, food, medical attention, visits, recreation, whatever the inmates are supposed to have. So it's kind of difficult being that friend and then having to be that professional that's dealing with a friend, because you still have to follow the rules and regulations. You still, you can't cut corners, because if you can't cut corners for this person, you can't cut corners for that person that you consider to be a friend. Establishing that border where they know this is my job, so please don't ask me anything that is, you know, going to compromise my present position. And it was difficult, because I did have a couple of true friends, a couple of family members that came through. So that is probably was one of the most challenging things, you know, to try to deal with them on the same level that I dealt with any ordinary inmate, knowing that this person was a lot closer to me, you know, and it's a personal feeling behind it, so.
Which of our 6 core beliefs resonates most with you? To remind you, they are confidence, expectations, competence, solutions, relationships, and results.
Expectations was one, because there has to be an expectation that a person is going to do his job correctly, is going to treat people fairly, is not going to disrespect or you know, take things for granted. You know, when you get or you fall into a career path, a good career, you want to take advantage of it. You want to make the best out of it. You don't want to take it for granted. So there's an expectation that you're going to be on time to work. You're going to put effort into coming to work. When you get to work, you're going to do the job the best that you can do. And anything that is expected of you during your 8-hour shift or your 16-hour shift. So you set those expectations from the beginning and you follow through. As a supervisor, I had to follow up to make sure that the expectations were being met. You do that through performance appraisals, where you can basically sit down with people and let them know, you know, how well they're doing or how bad they're doing, and come up with a plan to try to correct that and get back on track, so, you know, they can if they want to move up or move around through the Department of Corrections, through, into other positions that, that they may find more appealing to them, other than just locking someone up for the night and going home. Competence matters, understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it, being organized in a sense of you're putting everything in order, you're prioritizing your daily routine, and you're going through it in a manner that is consistent, so the inmates know what to expect from day to day when they see you, per se, how you run your ship, that type of a mentality. Relationships, the relationships that I build with staff members, with inmates, to get them to trust that you are a supervisor who has their best interests at mind on both sides, staff as well as inmates, because that can be difficult at times, because staff will, they'll get upset if you do something for an inmate sometimes that they feel you went overboard with, like, oh, I don't feel like he should have done that for that inmate. I think he, maybe they used to call it inmate lover, if they thought you went too far with certain things, or he's an inmate lover. No, I am a person that is recognizing the fact that this is a man or a woman too. The only thing that is separating us is the fact that I have a job working here and they're actually confined to the facility, but you still have to treat them like people, treat them fairly, and make sure, like I said, that they're getting everything that they're supposed to have while they're incarcerated, in hopes that it rehabilitates them, so when they get back on the street, they won't make the same mistakes that they did to end up in prison. Results, obviously, the result is them not returning to prison, hopefully getting out, finding a job, or reconnecting with their family and getting some sense of pride that gives them a new direction in life, where they don't want to do the wrong stuff, they don't want to take those shortcuts and put themselves at risk to be incarcerated again, because that takes a lot of time away from you and your family development, especially if you have small kids. So a lot of these core beliefs hit home, and they're all relevant to what I did and what I'm continuing to do after I retired from the Department of Corrections.
Well, it's take a lot of compassion, both
Yes.
jobs.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to realize that at some point in time, the judge and the court system and the legal system is what locked these people up, based on the guidelines of our state statutes and criminal law. They violated certain laws, and certain laws violations, certain amount of time that they got was determined on how bad of a law that they broke. If you kill somebody, you're looking at 20 years to life. If you rob somebody, you may be looking at 5 years to 15 years. So, you take into that consideration, okay, no one knows better than this person that's being locked up every night what they're going through. So my job is not to remind them on a daily basis that you're locked up and you're an inmate. My job is to do my job and just make sure that, that they go along and, like I say, receive all of the attention and anything else that is afforded to them during their incarceration, and not constantly remind them that you're an inmate, you're locked up, and you're worth nothing right now, which is the way some staff members chose to conduct themselves. I never saw it like that. Just because you're locked up doesn't mean you shouldn't have any pride within yourself. You should be proud no matter what predicament you're in, you should have some sort of pride in yourself and the type of person you are. So, I can really say that hits home. Because it could very easily be you the very next day. Like they say, here today, gone tomorrow, on top of the world today, at the bottom of the next day. So, one mistake could easily swap the position. You can go from the order of business to the business of order, if you understand what I'm saying.
I do. And lastly, what's your favorite piece of advice you would give to kids leaving high school? Or your best piece of advice?
Be patient. Be positive, be patient. When you step out of this building, you're not going to get the best job of your life immediately after you get out of high school. You have to be patient. You have to work towards your goals. You will start at one job and you work your way towards a better job or a career. You know, what you want to do is you want to focus on trying to get yourself some type of a career. You want to give yourself the best opportunity for that career. It may involve going to college. It may involve going to the military. It may involve going to certain types of trainings and seminars and stuff like that that teach you to become a certain type of a person that can hold a job down, or that can hold down a career, or hold down the goals that you set for yourself. Don't let anybody dictate how high you can go or how low you can fall. You have to follow your own dreams at times. But the main thing is that you have to be patient, and you don't come out of the gate thinking I've won the race already, because until you run that leg of the race, everybody else has just as good of a chance to win that race as you do. So be patient. Try to direct yourself towards something that interests you, because that makes a big difference if you're doing something that's interesting to you as opposed to something that you're just going through the motions doing. You know, you're just getting up and going to work, and once you get to work, you can't wait for the day to be over, even though the day has just started. It needs to be something interesting that you're doing throughout that work day, something that makes you feel good about yourself and the job that you're doing, you know, and never give up, you know. Take time. There's time for a family. Main thing is that you don't want to be a child out there trying to raise a child. So take time to put effort into making yourself the best person that you can be before you try to start thinking about getting married and raising a family and doing all those things. Live your life. Start to live your life so you can appreciate your life before you start living your life for someone else.
Take your time and find things you're passionate about.
Exactly.